Hi everyone. Today I'm going to go over a Q&A of my blepharoplasty, why I decided to do it, some before and after pictures, how I chose my surgeon, how I recovered, and how I feel after doing it. I'm about a year out now. So the first question that I get asked is, why did I decide to choose to do blepharoplasty? And I'm 49 years old. And so the reason why I chose to do it was something that I'd been thinking about probably since I was 30. I started doing Botox, I think, on my eyelids when I was 30. And I just noticed that it helped so much to lift it. And every time I would go to my doctor, he would mention that eventually I would have to have the excess skin on my eyelid removed. And I have a condition called Ehlers-Danlos, which creates it's a collagen disorder, and it does make the skin a little bit more lax. And so I did have extra skin since I was really little. So that was something that was kind of planted in my mind. And I just did so much research over the years. And when I finally chose my surgeon, I actually chose him because of before and afters. And I also chose him because of the fact that he used laser and more new technology. So it wasn't just like suturing and cutting, it was laser as well. So how did I choose my surgeon? I chose my surgeon by first looking for an oculoplastic surgeon. So I didn't want just a plastic surgeon. I wanted someone that specialized in the eyes because of my underlying condition. That was why I was advised to go to someone that actually just does eye stuff. And his main specialty is blepharoplasty. So that's why I chose him. And then he also, had a lot of social media pictures that showed a lot of before and afters, because there were kind of two doctors I was choosing between. And one of them really didn't have any before and afters. And then the one I chose, had tons of before and afters. And then he also had the laser technology versus just like cutting and suturing. He had the laser technology as well. So when I met with him the day of the consult, I was 48. And he met with me, did all kinds of like measurements, and he did like a thing where he kind of put a Q-tip, like rolled over a part of the eyelid to show what it would look like. Again, took lots of before and after pictures. And, his main goal with the surgery is just not to cut off too much, because then, obviously you can't close your eyelid, and then just aesthetically, it's not going to be as promising and as positive. So that was my main reason for choosing him. Obviously, I felt comfortable. And one of the things that I did do, like before even choosing who I would go to for the consult, is I did a lot of research, because a lot of the surgeons will charge like $500 just for the consult. Yes, it's applicable to put it towards your procedure, but I didn't want to, shop around and be spending a ton of money, even though I realize that shopping around is obviously important. But I just did a ton of research before I even went to him. And then the day of, it was kind of just like, no brainer. I felt really comfortable with him. And so that's how we made the decision. So what happened on the day of consult? Like I had mentioned, I met with him. He did a ton of eye tests, testing all the different muscles, because they need to know how the muscles function in order to have the best aesthetic result. Obviously, he went over like the day of the surgery procedures and that kind of thing. There's nothing really that you have to do in order to prep for the surgery. But again, I had mentioned that since like age 30, I had been off and on doing Botox about every 6 months on my eyes. And so I asked him about that, and he said, the best thing to do is just to stop the Botox 6 months before. That way, when you get in for surgery, I can really see where things lie naturally, and that we can correct it without it being with Botox. So that was exciting to me, because then I knew that when I did Botox for the first time after, that it would be like really exciting, and it turns out that it was. So here is the video of really just the day of. So again, the day of, you go into the room or into his office. I chose to do it as an outpatient. It's just local anesthesia, nothing else. Local anesthesia. I chose not to go, get be put under in like a operating room in a hospital. I didn't think that I needed that. I have a high pain tolerance, so that wasn't really anything that concerned me at all. It's also cheaper to do it, if you just do it in the office, but I had no concerns about that at all. So they do give you like Tylenol and Motrin beforehand, and then what they do is they numb the actual like eyeball with lidocaine. And then they put these dark contacts in your eyes. They numb, again, around the eyeball, they actually numb the actual eyeball, and then they put these dark contacts in your eyes so that you're not able to see like the surgeon and everyone coming in towards you, and with their laser and everything. So the entire surgery was actually kind of fun. I mean, I got to choose my music. We were all talking throughout the whole thing. Obviously they filmed part of it. There was absolutely no pain, no discomfort at all. The actual procedure itself, gosh, I mean, from start to finish, maybe 20 minutes. And again, I felt nothing. There was no kind of discomfort. And then he also did a browpexy, and browpexy is where he just like put like a suture in on both my eyes, just because I have so much of, not like sagging, but just my eyes in general, they are downturned. And so he decided to do a browpexy, which is just literally a stitch that they put in at a certain point just to kind of like booster up the eyelid. It's not like an eyelid lift or anything like that. So he did that, didn't feel that, not a problem. So immediately post-op that evening, I loved the results. I mean, the second I got in the car, obviously my husband drove me, but the second I got in the car, I could see everything better. And my eyes, when I got home, because the swelling hadn't, taken effect yet, they looked really great. So I have the pictures there. The only thing that I probably should have done for the pictures was maybe cleaned up some of the blood, but there was a little bit of blood like dripping down my face, which I didn't feel because of the anesthesia. So, and the main things after surgery are that you cannot wear your contacts for at least 2 weeks. I actually was off of work for like a month, so I chose to just not wear my contacts at all. And to try to not strain your eyes. Again, same thing. I was really surprised at the fact that being on the computer was really tiring to my eyes. My eyes got tired. I wouldn't say they got dry, but they were just tired. So I'm glad that I took time off of work. I also got blue light glasses just for when I came back to work, just to help with eye strain, and obviously just like eye protection in general. For the first week, they don't want you wearing any eye makeup, but like I still barely wear eye makeup, so that wasn't hard for me either. I think I wore eye makeup like for the first time maybe 2 months, maybe even 3 months after, and that again was just personal preference. But it was exciting when I did, because I could like do a winged liner and I could actually see it. So that was super exciting. And then they do dissolving sutures. So, you do go back in a week, but it's dissolving sutures. So it's not like, anything really has to be done. I'll talk about that in a second. And then I'm just looking at my notes here. And then they do recommend not doing any kind of bending over, that kind of exercise for at least a week. And then nothing that is going to cause like increased heart rate, because that could affect the healing a little bit. So I basically just did like walking and that kind of thing. It made me feel better that first week, because it just kind of like got the fluid down, got me moving. So that was nice. And then the first night, what you're supposed to do actually for the first 72 hours is you have to ice like 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off as much as you can. So they give you an ice pack that covers just the whole face. And then I also got these little like lip masks. They're actually little, they're in the shapes of lips, and I'll link them down below, but they're in the shapes of lips. And so that was more helpful to me because I felt like, I could actually place them on each eye, and I could really get like into, the grooves easier to be able to ice them. So I did like the overall one, and then when I, every once in a while I would do the ones for the lips that I put on my eyes. And that was fine. The next day and ongoing after, for really all the weeks of healing, I really didn't have a lot of bruising at all. The main thing, I guess you could see the sutures, but again, when I was wearing glasses, it was kind of difficult. Another thing that they have you do for the first 2 weeks is they have you put an antibiotic ointment on, and it's kind of a petroleum jelly based ointment. So that was enough for me in terms of any kind of dry eye that I had. I didn't find that my eyes were dry, and that was like lubricating enough. I didn't need to do any eye drops. And when the 2 weeks of the antibiotic ointment was over, then I just actually continued doing Vaseline at night, and that really helped to just keep my eyes lubricated again. Never needed eye drops or anything. What else? For the first, the first visit after, like, you go back in a week. He took a look at everything again, took pictures, and then the only thing that he did at that time was there were some sutures that were kind of still in there, so he got rid of those. They did more like eye muscle movements, measurements, that kind of thing. So long term, what did I do regarding the healing after a few months? Again, like I said, I continued to use the Vaseline at night. It just felt good. And then I asked him about scar gel. Scar gel I was able to apply just to the scars after 6 weeks. Scars were totally not a big deal, but after 6 weeks. And then I started tretinoin eye serum that I had been using, again, just to prepare for the surgery. I'd been using it before surgery. I started that, he said 3 months, I was able to do the retinoid eye serum. And then at 3 months, I was also able to do Botox. And what else? Sun protection, of course, I started that, definitely, I think that was maybe 1 week after, definitely 2 weeks after. I've always put sunscreen on my eyes, so I continued to do that without a problem. And those things I still continue to do without any problems. I'm going to list my shopping list below. So the night of, how it was supposed to go was I was going to go to bed, and, every time I would wake up, I would probably just ice. What happened though was way different. So I came home and I felt good, but I kind of felt like I was having quite a bad headache, and it wasn't just a headache. It was kind of like eye muscle, like just overall not just an eye muscle type thing. I just was not feeling well. And then sure enough, right when I got into bed, like a few hours later, I woke up and I must have had the stomach flu. I was vomiting all evening. And so obviously you're not supposed to bend over. You're not supposed to like increase your intra-abdominal pressure. Vomiting all evening. The only good thing about that was the fact that I was able to ice frequently. But obviously the vomiting, I had to sit on the floor and hold the toilet, and I was just kind of like vomiting, horizontally. I wasn't like bending over or anything like that. And trying to stay hydrated, but that was pretty much impossible. So then I called his office the next day and told them, and he actually called in an anti-nausea medication, and that worked very nicely, but obviously I didn't feel good. So I continued to rest for the first day or two. So, I was so worried how I'm going to be so bored. I'm not going to be able to do anything. Being on the computer is going to be difficult, but I definitely wasn't bored. I was just sleeping like the entire next day. And again, in terms of the healing, I didn't have bruising because they expected that I would have a lot of bruising after that occurring, but I actually didn't have any bruising. But as you can see in these pictures, I did have a lot of swelling. So that took a few days to go down just once my fluid status got better. So the next So do I think that I made the right decision? I would say absolutely yes. Do I think I should have done it sooner? Possibly, but I really think that Botox, I mean, I thought that Botox was doing a good job until I did this and then Botox, and I really, really saw the difference. So, my hope right now is, he said between 40 and 50 is a good time to do it. And, people, it's not unexpected that you do need to do it again in 10 years. So that's why I'm just right now just trying my best to keep up with, my sunscreen and my retinoid and just overall eye care, eye skin health. I'm kind of getting a second chance at the eye area just because it was so saggy and wrinkly before. So that's, my goal. And if I have to have it done again, then I would. The one thing that I'm very happy about that I did was the browpexy. And, that's another thing with the other surgeon that I hadn't even heard of before. And so my doctor is like one of the few that does the browpexy. So I'm very happy that I did that because I'm still, I still continue to wonder, like, should I do an eyelid lift? And so that would be something that, I'd still go back to him in the future for. But I'm glad that I only did the blepharoplasty because, I didn't know how that was going to go. This is my first like surgery really ever, especially on my face. And I kind of just wanted to focus on that. For some people, he does do CO2 laser to help the skin around the eyes at the same time as the blepharoplasty. People do really well with that. I've seen a lot of his patients that go through that. But again, I was just too worried with my Ehlers-Danlos. I was just too worried about like just healing from the actual procedure that I didn't want to then complicate it by getting CO2 laser to my whole face. So overall, very happy. Highly recommend the doctor. Highly recommend doing it. If you're thinking about it, there's really no negatives. The only thing that you just have to make sure is that you choose, as with all these things, you choose the correct surgeon. And, another thing is just like he had mentioned, I mean, you have to make sure that the surgeon is not going to take off too much skin. And you would think, oh, but like I want so much skin removed because that's going to look good. But that's actually where people look not like themselves, is when too much of the skin is removed. So I'm happy. Another thing is like afterwards, did any of my friends notice? I told them that I was going to do it, but I didn't really tell them when. And the only thing that my friends noticed was they noticed like my eyelashes more, and they thought I was wearing eyeliner, but it wasn't. So I think just my eyes showed up more, but they didn't really like notice anything drastic. People said that I just looked more awake. Like even when I went in for the Botox, she's like, you look so much more awake. What did you do? And so I'm very happy that I did it. No negatives at all. So I can take any questions down below. And again, I'm going to list my shopping list of just little things that I kind of added on to help in my recovery initially and then overall. Thanks so much for watching. All right, so just some final thoughts that I thought I would probably get some questions about regarding cost. The cost of a bilateral blepharoplasty from my surgeon was $3,000. And then the browpexy that I had mentioned, where the sutures were done to go just like lift the brow a little bit, that was, that was an extra $1,500. And then to get it done inpatient, so he did it in the office, that was $500. Obviously, it's much more if you have to go into the hospital. And then the consult fee was $250, and that was applied to the whole procedure. Some people choose to do the CO2 resurfacing, just periorbital around both eyes, and that would have been an extra $1,500. But I didn't need that, and I didn't, again, want to complicate anything because I was worried about my general healing. And then another thing that I think was really helpful was like my little shopping list. So I will link everything below. I used, as I had mentioned, I used Vaseline for, instead of eye drops, I used the Vaseline because that was what I would do, is I would just put it like on my eyelashes, and that would really keep like just my eyes moist in general. So I will actually link the one that I used. It's like the Curad brand, and it's really nice because it's not like thick and opaque like regular Vaseline. It's kind of more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just, it's thinner, you know, easier to spread. So I really like that one. And then I'll also link the big eye masks that I used, as well as those lip masks that I had mentioned that got like more into just the groove of the two eyes. And those I used for both icing and heat, because I did have a little residual bump up here. So he did tell me to use heat on those. So I used those like later on in the process, a few months later. And I did use a specific sunscreen on my eyelids. I actually use a lip sunscreen, a mineral lip sunscreen, because that was really gentle and really easy to get into like all the grooves again of my eyelids. But I always use mineral sunscreen around my eyes anyway. So I'll link a few of the mineral sunscreens that I really liked for around my eyes, as well as the sticks. The stick forms for sunscreen a lot of times are just too thick. So, I mean, like too thick in the size to get around all the grooves. So that's why I just like to use like a regular chapstick type form of the lip SPF. And then finally, I found a really nice retinaldehyde eye cream, and it's more like an ointment. And so that was really nice. I was able to use that 6 months after surgery. And as I mentioned, I was using it also before surgery. So I restarted that 6 months after. And I'll also link the scar gel. He had me use the scar gel. When was that? That was after the incisions had healed. I used the scar gel for 6 months, twice a day. And I mean, I can't tell, you know, if it helped, but my scars are definitely flat. And I'll do another video just like to show the scars more, but I do think it helps because I can barely see my scars now. If I think of anything else, I will link those all in the description box. And also, if you have any questions that you want to know, please let me know any questions at all, or things, you know, to help other people going through the process, because I know that I watched a ton of these videos when I was going through the process before choosing to do this, and after I had done it, just like about the recovery and that kind of thing. So again, I will do another video more specifically on my recovery, but this is just kind of like my general first video on just everything. So thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon.